And you got a voice like strep throat, but you still know how to thunderstrike a crowd. My question was same as I was going to ask last year, but I didn't get the chance. Where do you get your energy to just keep going like this always?
I find reading the New York Times. It's like coffee. It gins you up. It keeps you going. It's my exercise regime. Is there a mic there? I don't know where I'm supposed to look. Oh, there.
Oh, there's nobody there.
Go.
Oh, me? Ann, Scott Bill Harris, Town Councilman, Hopkins, Rhode Island. Last year, the voters of Rhode Island were asked to change the state's name from the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations to just the state of Rhode Island because it offended some people. And just to inform local people, in Narragansett Bay is a big island called Rhode Island, and the mainland was called Providence Plantations, the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. Since you're from Connecticut, and I'm sure you have some familiarity with my state, what do you think of that suggestion that was overwhelmingly defeated by the voters of Rhode Island?
Well, good for them. I mean, it's just like a liberal. They import slaves. They hold slaves. They fight for slavery. They go to war in a civil war to defend slavery. They then install legal discrimination against blacks for 100 years. And then, 20 years later, they act like it was Republicans doing it, and they're going to rush around and change names. We could really use a little help from the Democrats when it mattered, not when it's been triumphed over.
Hi, Ms. Coulter. Thank you. My question is, and I know you mentioned this earlier in your speech, why is it exactly that Republicans believe that free and fair elections or democracy could exist in Iraq where we invaded, and yet it can't exist in Egypt, which is also an Arab nation, when they're calling for democracy in a sort of grassroots movement?
Well, perhaps it will. It's not as clear what the outcome is in Egypt. It was clear in Iraq, and we had American servicemen there to make sure the elections were held fairly. And when those Iraqis were out waving their purple fingers, delighted to have democracy, you could not find more long faces on the Democrats. And not just John Kerry. Similarly, in Iran, and by the way, Iraq and Iran are very similar in this regard. They're perfect for regime change because the people are sane. Their leaders were insane. That's where you want to take out the leader. In some of these countries, you have the people. In fact, it's usually one or the other. In the Muslim countries, either the leaders are crazy and the people are sane, or the people are crazy and the leaders are sane. In the latter case, you don't want to be taking out the sane leaders and allowing, democracy in Pakistan or Afghanistan. Egypt isn't quite that. It seems to be a little bit closer to Iran or Iraq. But what is the obvious outcome here? I mean, in Iran, there had been an election. The moderates had won. And Ahmadinejad stole the election. We don't know what's happening in Egypt. It may be okay. Now the military's running things. By the way, that's not a democracy. Don't tell liberals. But I think Republicans, we're no longer an isolationist party, but we're not a busybody meddling party either. If it's not broke, don't fix it. If we have an ally who's helpful to the United States, as Mubarak was, why do you want to be stirring up trouble in a country like that? We can't invade every country like Iraq, as much as they'd like us to, and turn them all into beautiful, peaceful democracies. We can't do that in every country across the world. I mean, Buchanan has a point that we end up wasting all of our resources. I'm a bigger fan of the war in Iraq than I think George Bush is, but you don't go around disturbing countries where you have a loyal ally.
What is more important, though, to American values, being friends with Israel still, or knowing that there are jailed dissidents and journalists?
What do you mean, knowing that there are jailed journalists? I think there should be more jailed journalists.
Hi, Ann. My name's Brian Henchy. I'm from Massachusetts, and I was your last almost questioner last year when I said, for the first time in my adult life, I'm proud to be from Massachusetts. After we took back the Ted Kennedy seat and Scott Brown won. So, really, my question for you is, well, actually, two questions. One is, how do you? I know I'm kind of at a point now in politics where I feel like the lack of true conservatism doesn't really come through as much as it ought to. I'm thrilled to have Scott Brown as my senator, as, you know, he's a, well...
That's Massachusetts, give him a break. We're lucky it's not Joseph Stalin.
Could be worse, it could be Barney Frank. Anyway, yeah, and I worked on the Sean Below campaign too, but anyway... But
so the question is, why don't we have real conservatism? I think this is probably changing, but I mean, the defense I will give to Republicans who come to Washington running as conservatives and then not always governing as conservatives is they don't get rewarded at the ballot box for cutting programs. I think the Tea Party may change that now, but when you have all of these... I mean, the perfect synecdoche of it is Arnold Schwarzenegger in California. He puts all of these items on the ballot when he first comes in to take back some of the ridiculous perquisites that the public sector unions have. Well, every single member of a public sector union in California, all of their relatives and neighbors are going to vote in that election. But a lot of the rest of California, you know, they woke up the day after the election and said, oh, was there an election yesterday? And he lost all of his initiatives, and then he started governing like a Democrat. And the same thing happens in Washington. You know, you move to cut something like utterly useless, like the National Endowment of the Arts, the Commerce Department, the Department of Agriculture, or the most oppressive organization of all, the Department of Education. And everyone who works for the Department of Education, everyone who gets a grant from the Department of Education is your sworn enemy. But how much credit do you get from Americans who are, you know, mildly annoyed that we have all these useless programs? But that's why you need an observant electorate. Very bad for the Democrats, very good for the Republicans. So start demanding that programs get cut.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann. I'm Danielle Madsen from Texas State University. Thank you so much for coming to speak with us. And I did see the interview you did with Joy Behar and about whether, you know, people loved you. Joy Behar on
I know, I've done lots of interviews with her, so this isn't identifying the interview for me if you wanted to comment on it.
The specific line where she was wondering whether people loved you or hated you, and I just wanted to let you know, we do love you.
Thank you.
And my question is, what would you say to college students who want to promote conservative values on campus?
Go get them. I mean, what do you do precisely? I mean, the one thing I can say is, as much as you feel oppressed and like you're in a minority, the truth has an inherent appeal. And you'll be surprised when you speak the truth how many people will listen and how many people may be either already agreeing with you or when they hear the truth will agree with you. And don't be like a politician and take a poll and then decide what your position is. The truth is inherently appealing.
We have another microphone over here that
hasn't
been addressed yet. Over here, we have another microphone that hasn't been
addressed. Oh, we're going there. Sorry,
I was just wondering what you think about the playing field for the 2012 elections.
What I think about what?
The playing field for the 2012 elections.
I may as well tell you what my prediction is, because then you can either totally congratulate me or laugh at me 2 years from now. I don't like to attack Republicans. Many of them have excellent characteristics, and they're good in the positions they're in now, and I support them in their positions as representatives or governor or Fox News host. But I think, well, I'll put it in a nutshell. If we don't run Chris Christie, Romney will be the nominee and we'll lose.
Thank you.
And by the way, I warned you about McCain. Lone voice in the woods. Okay, we'll go all the way down there.
Hi. I was going to ask the 2012 question, but I guess I'll just ask the counter. Who is your least favorite Democrat?
Oh, boy.
And
that's like asking my least favorite disease.
Also, who's your favorite Democrat, if you have one?
I was just thinking about some Democrats I just can't hate. I can't do my least favorite, I'm sorry. Cancer. I can't hate Jim Webb. He served our country honorably. And even when he votes for things that I think are very bad for the country, he is such an honorable American. I'm really glad he's not running again, because I hate having a Democrat out there that I can't hate. There are a few others. Bobby Rush, former Black Panther. I'll give you one more that, because of his history, terrible, terrible liberal now, but John Lewis was a total hero during the Freedom Rides. And you can't hate somebody like that. And it drives me crazy that he's become a liberal. But he's one that it's hard to hate because of his proud history.
Thank you for being here today. I'm Tom Delzell from New York. So much of the structure of overreach is based on the Commerce Clause. So as leading voice of the conservative movement, would you support an amendment to repeal and replace with an amendment that clarifies the Commerce Clause so it cannot be overstretched?
No, I mean, you may as well add an amendment saying, please read this document before issuing decisions. It's there.
Unfortunately,
it's there. We have it. And by the way, it was my law firm that brought one of the two big Commerce Clause decisions. Morrison, we got the Violence Against Women Act declared unconstitutional because violence against women is not a matter of interstate commerce. And the one just before that was Lopez, the Gun-Free School Zone Act. And that was the first time in half a century the Supreme Court had found any limits to the Commerce Clause. But they found those two. And as I said on Hannity a few weeks ago, if the Supreme Court finds that Congress has authority under its constitutional right to regulate interstate commerce, to force all Americans to purchase a product such as health insurance, then they ought to start introducing bills. The Republicans should introduce bills requiring all Americans to buy a gun, to buy a Bible, to buy drinks for blondes.
Okay, my name is Jim. I have a serious question. Do you think our situation as a country, Ann, is more complex than just left versus right, conservative versus liberal, or Republican versus Democrat?
Well, there's nothing good about liberals, so they're just going to constantly be a boil on America's back. But yes, I mean, as I said, you do have this problem of democracy where people keep voting goodies for themselves, whether it's a Department of Education grant or corporate welfare, and that's why it's hard to cut spending. Unless you start rewarding Republicans who cut spending, they're not going to cut spending. They're getting reelected.
Thank you.
Do I go here now?
Sure, my name's Cody Holt. I'm from Patrick Henry College, and I have a question for you. I'm a conservative. I think truth is important, but I'm also a sophomore journalism major. Is there any hope for me getting a job when I graduate?
Yeah, take college Republicans off your resume. I don't know. I mean, I would think that the mainstream media would be champing at the bit to have a few conservatives in as much as little Fox News comes along and starts crushing all of them by figuring out, let's appeal to this niche of American TV viewers, half of America. Wow, why didn't anybody think of that before? And the strange thing is that, you know, normally when someone comes along with a fantastic product that everybody wants to buy, you know, an iPhone, you have lots of imitators coming up. Everybody's trying to imitate Google because everybody uses Google. It's very popular. You have all these imitators trying to come up with an alternative search engine. But Fox comes along and the rest of the mainstream media, nope, we're going to act like it's 1960. We refuse to imitate success.
Ann, thank you for coming. And
last question.
Just given the controversy that's been surrounding CPAC this year with GoProud, I was wondering if you think GoProud should have been allowed to participate in CPAC this year.
Oh, good. I have a long answer for the last question. Yeah, I was GoProud's first speaker, and by the way, I talked them into dropping the gay marriage plank. Coulter gets results. But no, I think it's very important because, I mean, we've watched this for 30 years. The left keeps using one group after another to destroy the family. That is their goal, destroy the family. They have used women, the feminists, are going to come out for no-fault divorce, and the gal's doing it on her own now, and I can have a child without a husband. They use the blacks. And by the way, congratulations, liberals, you just about destroyed the black family with these brilliant promotions of single motherhood policies. And now they're using the gays. I mean, this is the wackiest thing. Like many of you, I was always friend of the gay, friend of the gays, friend of the gays, friend of the gays. Then liberals come along with some idea no one's thought of for 1,000 years, gay marriage, and I go to sleep one night being friend of the gays, I wake up the next day homophobe. No, you can't do that. You just made up this gay marriage thing, and it has nothing to do with them liking gays. They don't mind their little pals, the Islamic terrorists, dropping walls on gays. No, only if to use gays as a cat's paw to attack the family. Because liberals want the family destroyed, they want religion destroyed, because then you have loyalty directly to the state. I know I should end, but I'm not ending. I got one more point. Okay, I know it's the end and you're giving me a standing ovation because you want to get me off the stage, but I've got one more point. Look, I am as born-again, evangelical Christian as they come. And I am friend of the gays. So on one hand, I mean, look, the conservative argument is, well, look, first let me say, the gay argument is, why do conservatives act like our sin is worse than any other sin? Did none of you have premarital sex? None of your children have premarital sex? You don't have friends who have premarital sex? All of you are tithing every year? And no, of course not. So I think there is a little extra animosity directed toward gays, but then the conservatives would say, okay, fine, but we don't go to CPAC and have a group called, you know, Republicans Against Tithing, or Republicans for Premarital Sex. And to that, I'd say, yeah, but it's different being gay. You have all of culture telling gays you should be liberal. Just like all of culture used to tell women, oh, if you don't support abortion, you must hate women. This is the left trying to co-opt gays. So for now, I would like gays to just be part of conservatives the way women are and blacks are without a special designation. We don't need the special designation for it. I would prefer that, but you know, there is something to being gay apart from the sodomy. That's what I want their new motto to be, by the way. Gays without the sodomy. But there is something to, this is why I get along with gays. We like the same music, the same cocktails, often the same men. There is a whole culture to it, and I both know gays who are chaste, and I don't want to diss them by saying, oh, forget about it, don't even try being chaste. I know chaste gays, and I honor them. I mean, God is saying to gays what he said to Abraham, give up something you love for me. That's a tough cross to bear, and I admire gays who do it, but I can't tell you that I'm without sin, as none of us are. So I guess that's the big point. The left is trying to co-opt gays, and I don't think we should let them. I think they should be on our side. We're for low taxes, we're against crime, we're against the terrorists who want to kill gays. Gays are natural conservatives. Now I will say thank you and good night.